Hey guys, how are ya? Welcome back to my channel. It's me, Steven. I am in San Antonio at the San Antonio Museum of Art. I am super excited. This looks like where everyone puts their stickers. Some museums give you a little sticker or a little badge to wear while you're there, and apparently everyone sticks it on here. So it's turned this into a public piece of art as well. Let's go inside. Ooh. Pretty. Hi. Ooh. Beautiful museum. Very friendly people at the front desk there. And this is their temporary exhibit that was recommended to start my tour here. This exhibit is called Archaeology of Memory. This exhibition is the first retrospective of Amelia Mesa Baines' 50-year trajectory of work, explores two abiding threads: the life-sustaining work of remembering and the archaeological process of reconstructing memories central to individual and social well-being. That sounds like my YouTube channel. Really interesting and sad. Looks like a bridal bouquet, but it looks like it's kind of falling apart at the same time here. Like someone's rummaging through drawers looking for objects or memories or feelings. Interesting. Mirrors are fascinating. They each have an image, maybe of the artist or her mother or something. But you know, as you get older, you look in the mirror, you see yourself as you are now, but you also glimpse pieces of yourself, you know, of your past. Maybe this is of her, maybe her mother, I don't know. That one of the eyes is haunting. Brings back a memory of mine. This is shortly before I got sober. I was in my apartment in the South End of Boston, and I was listening to Britney Spears. I don't know what song, but I was dancing around the house to Britney Spears wildly, drunk out of my mind. And there was a mirror over the mantle in my living room, and I stopped in front of the mirror and I was singing to myself. And this is back before I had a beard. I looked at myself in the mirror just for a second, just for a glimpse, just like that mirror there with that image of somebody in there. And I saw my upper lip and I cried. I started to cry because it was the same exact upper lip shape as my little brother. His picture was on the mantle, and I saw his little mouth and I saw my mouth, and we had very similar facial structure in places, and I just burst into tears, missing my little brother and and wondering like what he would have looked like, who he would have been if he had lived, you know, past 5 years old. And I just broke down into tears. That's the kind of drunk I was. But looking at this mirror here with that image of either the artist or maybe her mother or sister in that mirror, really brought back a whole bunch of emotions, as you can probably tell. I'm being given the evil eye by the docents in the museum, because I'm like, da, 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 da. But yeah, that was moving. That was quite moving. I know this is an exhibit of a piece of work here, and cumulatively, I'm sure it tells a tale. But I'm brought right back to what do they call them? Curiosity cabinets that I saw from the 1500s. That was like the beginning of museums, like the origin of museums. But this looks like a great way to display things that you love at a work desk, for example. Couldn't you imagine sitting behind that little pile of magic, just writing your emails and stuff? That's fantastic. I wish I knew the story of how it was curated, you know? Right, so I am at a loss for words. I really can't even handle it. So remember I just told you that story of me seeing myself and my little brother in that mirror? Well, those images, the young ladies in those mirrors that you saw earlier, were of her sister, who had been ill for 20 years and died very young. And the vanity, that I'm not sure if I the vanity with the bridal bouquet, that would have been in the artist's mind the vanity that her little sister would have used to put her wedding makeup on, you know, and these are just examples of possible histories, of her family and her sister who passed away so young. It's really hitting me right in the head because, that was my experience looking in the mirror at my own face, seeing my little brother in my own face. These are very early canopic, I think that's how you pronounce them, canopic jars. These four would have held the stomach, the liver, the lungs, and the intestines that were dried, wrapped in linen, and then stored in these jars. Really interesting. They're made of sandstone from like 2500 BC, if you could imagine. Really wild. These were taken from some apparently unknown noble's grave, but how creepy is that? Some mummy over here. What else do we see? My shoes are making this very annoying squeaking sound as I walk. I'm trying to tiptoe now so I don't make noise when I walk. God, look at that bowl. It's so beautiful. Think of the work that was involved in carving that bowl out. It's alabaster, and then polishing it with sand and stuff. Imagine how much work is involved in that bowl. Crazy. I love these pots. They're from roughly 3500 BC. Talk about ancient, but I just think they're beautiful. This terracotta, which has been burnished, it's been buffed to be very smooth, almost silky. But they put these pots in upside down so that the tops of the pots would sit in the ashes of the fire that fed the kiln. So it stopped the clay from oxidizing and turning red like you would see at the bottom of the pot. So they fired them upside down in ashes to get those colors on. I think that's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. If I ever get back into pottery, I do hope to remember those pots right there. I'm walking through the museum and I just glance over and see this big glass dish up there and these bottles and think, oh, that's interesting. I wonder how old those are. 4th century AD. 4th century AD. They were already blowing glass. And this platter is enormous. The skill it's just really hugely impressive. It's all in one piece. That is not a crack. That's just where it was buried under soil and stuff. Now, it's not written here, but I do know that if you look really close, you see these iridescent bits right there, and you'll see it also on these glass bottles down here. There's a lot of iridescence and shimmering different textures. Louis Comfort Tiffany tried to recreate very similar finishes on some of his glass. He was trying to emulate the pieces that were discovered that had been buried for millennia, and he was trying to recreate that finish. And he was quite successful because everyone knows it from around the world. You look at Tiffany glass and you can see that sort of shimmer and luminescence, and oh, it's just beautiful, beautiful stuff. What is it at? Look at this. Looks like some sort of little alien embryo. What is that? Oh, it's a perfume bottle. Oh, no. This is a cosmetic bottle with 4 different compartments and an applicator. You can see at the top there's 4 little holes. That's neat. And a makeup brush from the 4th century AD. Craziness. Yeah, if you want a museum to yourself, come the day before Thanksgiving. This place is empty. Oh, all I can hear are my shoes going squeak, squeak, squeak. I've always looked at the decoration of these pots, and I've always admired the forms of them. But I've always just wondered in terms of how they get them so almost mathematically symmetrical. The handles on these pieces, if you look, are almost mathematically. I mean, they're so perfectly symmetrical. These handles. I just thought there's no way to do that like so accurately. They probably used sprig molds is what we would have called them. So it would have been maybe plaster or some sort of clay mold that's recessed, carved out, and then you'd press clay into that. And when the clay dehydrates, when it starts to dry, it shrinks up, and you can remove those pieces from the sprig mold. And I'm not sure why they're called sprig molds, but I'm wondering if these handles, and maybe if not the whole pot, potentially could have come from some sort of molding of pieces and then applied. But even the application of these handles is done so accurately. Just look at this. See how symmetrical those handles are? I just think it's fascinating. Although I can see on the one on the right in the upper part how that was joined and smoothed and how it's not quite like the one on my left. So there is some human touch. The fingerprint of the artist still exists there. But when I took my first pottery classes as an adult, my instructor used to beg me to stop polishing everything, stop smoothing everything. I always wanted something to look like perfect, like it was born smooth, like a baby, you know. But he's like, stop, you're erasing the fingerprint of the artist. And, well, there's still a fingerprint left on there, but the thoughts that go in my head, sorry. This is an interesting floor panel. It's a mosaic of little bits of glass and stone. You can see there are human beings here wearing capes, battling centaurs. And you see that there are women who are looking very distressed right there. He's got a shield and a spear. So apparently these mythological people called the Lapiths in a part of northern Greece called Thessaly, the leader of the Lapiths was getting married apparently, and they invited centaurs to the wedding. But the centaurs got too drunk and became unruly and tried stealing the women, including the bride, and the humans went battling the centaurs to win the women back. Oh, yep, those ancient Greeks, they were wild, or ancient Romans. This is actually a Roman piece, but wild times. And that's why you never invite centaurs to your wedding, and certainly never give them alcohol. Look at how cute this little kitty cat head is. It's bronze. I think the colors are amazing. But apparently this would have been like a topper at the top of a mummified cat that would have been buried with his owner. That will not be my cat's future, but it's beautiful. Spooky. There's my outfit of the day. There you go. I gained a little bit of weight back. Not too much, just enough for me to notice around my midsection. I'm in the Asian art wing. Amazing. Look at this. If you're ever in the Boston area at the MFA, Museum of Fine Arts, they have a whole section, a whole room of just these giant Buddhas. You can just sit there and just be at peace, and it's just an amazing place. But look at what's going on here. I mean, she's quite busted. Look at the monkey or whatever it is, and that's quite something. It looks like she's trying to whistle. Looks like she's trying to whistle. I don't think I can capture the magnificence of this. This is a sand mandala. Now, it's made of thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of grains of sand. I'm not sure if you can see that right there. It is absolutely magnificent. And the little blurb off to the side here says that these mandalas are only meant to last a day or two. They're ephemeral. They're supposed to go away. They're supposed to be a practice of impermanence and accepting impermanence. Things don't stay the same. And so they're usually left to disintegrate naturally. But permission was gained by the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama had to give permission to preserve this as a way to promote peace and harmony. And this is one of the very few you're ever going to find in a museum anywhere. So this is, that's quite the thing. That's quite the thing. I'm going to spend a moment or two looking at it. It's called a medicine mandala. So I'm going to just take a moment, enjoy it, and think of the dedication and the persistence and just the skill. I mean, just look. That's all made of individual grains of sand, individually placed. Imagine, just think of the technique and the skill not needed and the patience to create these things out of sand. I'm so drawn to these celadon pieces here, this scalloped bowl. This sculpture, this is called Autumn Wind, or Fall Wind, Fall Wind. It is absolutely gorgeous. It personifies physically a cool breeze, doesn't it? Oh my gosh. And I am in love with this plate, this little, oh my God, it's amazing. My mouth is watering. That is so beautiful. That little curved tip right there almost looks like a lotus leaf, maybe. Just gorgeous. And that glaze, I can taste it. These are brilliant forms. This is called a coxcomb flask. Clearly there's a pour spout there, but I love how they would have used maybe a cord or something through that hole at the top to hang it or suspend it or carry it. This piece is killing me up here with the little lid on top of the spout there. And there's two holes. You could have either attached a handle or hung it with cord from something. I just think these are beautiful, beautiful pieces. And these were made between 900 AD and 1100 AD. Just beautiful, beautiful pieces. This is a beautiful museum. And an interesting building. You can see some of the architecture here. Let's see if I can. Yeah, you can see some of the architecture of the buildings that make up the museum here. Really neat. This is supposed to be something of a Chinese scholar's studio. Can you handle the lines on these chairs? They are so magnificent. Look at the furniture. So this little blurb over here talks about how traditionally men lived separately from women, occupying rooms convenient for receiving guests and business associates at the front of the residence. A man's most private space was his studio, where he read, studied, entertained with intimate friends, and cultivated the Confucian ideal of Renren, or something like that. Wenren? Literally, man of culture, surrounded by his books, family, genealogies, encyclopedia, and other references. A man could practice calligraphy and examine artifacts and literature of the past. So literally, this is a ancient Chinese man cave. I have to step back quite a ways to be able to see this whole piece in frame without falling over a railing behind me. How did Stephen die? Well, he was at a museum and he backed up over a railing. But this piece is really interesting. I love these fluorescent colors, and they're lit very much like something at the Chrysler Museum by daylight. So the quality of the color and the intensity of the hues is going to change depending on the lighting outside. Under low light, these fluorescent colors just sizzle. But I love how these different examples of cool and warm colors sort of recede from you or come forward. Just really neat piece. That's huge. It's a really beautiful museum. Look at this piece here. And you'll see the dark colored spots, right? But alternating, there are white dots that you can just barely make out. But as I approach it, I wonder if it's going to show up on camera. As I approach and pass the piece, do you see how the whites seem more obvious? And I think that's due to the quality of the natural light. That even on a two-dimensional surface like paint, it changes by just how it's lit. I think that's fascinating. I love that. Find ourselves in a more contemporary exhibit. How wild is this? Oh my gosh. Look at this figure. Look at this figure. It's, I don't know what it's made of, melted plastic, or it looks like melted trash bags or something with silk scarves wound through those. This makes me think of the Ghost of Christmas Future in a production of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. In the end of the movie, when the Ghost of Christmas Future puts out his skeletal hand and points at Ebenezer Scrooge's grave, and that's how he knows he's going to be dying sometime soon. This almost personifies that Ghost of Christmas Future to me. It's also the feeling I had when I first got sober. I know I talk about my sobriety all the time, but when I went to visit my mother, it's a whole story I'll tell you again at some point. I went to visit my mother when she was in a locked psych ward after she tried to kill herself and her husband and blah, blah, blah. And I remember, hold on a second, people started to show up. I remember visiting my mother in that locked psych ward and seeing my future, because I'm very much like my mother. I saw her in me and me in her, and I knew that this was the end. She had reached the end of her story at that time, and I felt like that was the ghost of my future pointing at my path, saying this is where you're going to be if you don't change. And yeah, did that make any sense at all? Wow, all these emotions are being brought up at this visit. This museum is huge. Oh, look at how spooky. Poor Jesus, he looks so sad. This museum is enormous. It's much larger on the inside than it is on the outside, kind of like the TARDIS in Doctor Who. But yeah, it's a fascinating place. It's huge. I love the use of these colors in the background here. Look at this wild sculpture. Little toes. There's certainly a rear end there. Look at, and where they meet the lovers. Quite nice eyebrows there. Her hair flowing and is grabbing her from behind there. How wild is that? Crazy, all from one piece of wood. Back at this piece right here, and I stopped to read the blurb here. The title of the piece is called "If I Was Standing Alone, I Couldn't Stand It at All." It explores the physical pressure of things that are deeply felt yet invisible. Yep, that completely describes how I felt when I saw it. Look at these Wedgwood pieces. Oh my goodness. They were originally designed to look like cameo glass, but it's all pottery, it's all clay. Each of these little designs that you see are molded. They're carved out and then filled in with the white porcelain, and then they're dried a little bit. They're taken out and then they're applied to the surface of the pots. But look how intricate those little pieces are. It's almost like that mandala we saw downstairs. I mean, the work and the dedication and just the precise. It must be so fatiguing to make these pieces. How magnificent are these? Wonderful. You can find a ton of Wedgwood when you're thrifting. I find it oftentimes little ashtrays, trinket dishes, little covered boxes and stuff. You can't get any money for them. They're a dime a dozen. eBay is flooded with Wedgwood. It looks beautiful. It's magnificent in its manufacture, but it's so common that it's worth nothing when you're reselling it. But those pieces obviously are different stories. What do we have up here? I got my steps in here today. Oh, this is a sky bridge to the other building. All right. Antonio. The Pearl District, or the Pearl, whatever it is right over there. I'm going to head over there after I hit the museum. Okay, San Antonio. The Oceana. And I know these are poi bowls only because I watch Antique Roadshow. I also know that that little bowl there is probably worth like $30,000 or $40,000. Just crazy. But how neat is that? Right? Oh, that's a very popular boy. My goodness. That would have startled the hell out of me. A bone dagger. Okay. Wow. Look at this mask. Fascinating. New Guinea. Is this a pig? Yeah, it's a basket. It's a wild pig made out of a basket, and it looks like it's got cojones. Wow. What's going on here? Looks like what's going on? Where are these snakes coming from? I'm confused and a little disturbed. Huh. Yep, this is a double ancestor group made in the form of a headrest. Okay. The top is carved with two recumbent figures with snakes issuing from their genital regions. Okay. That's a story there. Alright, I need to eat something. Let's check out the gift shop. Oh, there's more art behind the gift shop. Oh. Alright, let's check out the gift shop. Then we'll look at some more art. This is the section after the gift shop. I love it. The portrait's amazing, but I love the frame. They're carved morning glories into the wood here. Beautiful. And over here it's this amazing painting. It's Noah sacrificing a lamb after the deluge. Apparently that must be his family over there. Just beautiful. Can you hear that person walking? Every heel strike. Worse than motorcycles for me. The sound of people walking in museums. Just look at that. I can almost smell the air. And she and the child are in the shade of a tree over here. I can hear that woman walking towards me now. But the sun sounds like a bag of falling rocks. I just love the sun. Can you hear her walking? The sun washing. I can't even think about art right now. I love people, I really do, but sometimes I don't. Just the noise, and then they started making out. I'm like, oh my god, we're in a museum. Yeah, just love his face. Oh look, oh this cheers me up. Pottery. This is Roseville pottery, right here. Frequently copied by some Chinese manufacturers. That's gorgeous. I can still, oh, that's Rookwood. Oh, and she can't cough quietly either. Oh my god, I'm being so mean. This is a piece of Rookwood pottery, which I think is magnificent. The pine cone, the branches, the pine needles, just beautiful. I just clearly have a very difficult time with people who are not considerate about people's experience around them. Like, we're in this amazing museum surrounded by beautiful artwork, and this person's clomping around in combat boots, and then she stops and makes out with her boyfriend in the middle of the museum. I'm like, ugh. Like, I was raised, my mother was basically an animal. I was raised by a feral animal, and I still know how to behave in a museum. You know, so frustrating. And then look at this little squirrel. Look at him. Oh, yes, I'm talking about you. Little sweetheart. Something I miss in Las Vegas, squirrels. I love squirrels more than I love pigeons. And you know I love pigeons. Look at him. Look at that little baby. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Oh, I want a squirrel. All right, more art. Or it might be time to leave. I'm clearly hungry. I'm getting very cranky. It's a beautiful museum, though. Oh, it's beautiful out. It's about 80 degrees. Gorgeous. And I had a very nice visit at the museum. I'm going to put my sticker on this little wall here. Be a part of the team. Find a good spot right there. And voila! There goes my visit to the SAMA, the San Diego Museum of Art. I hope you had a good time. I am going to find some food because I am clearly very cranky. I think I'm going to be in that direction. So I will see you later, all right? Have a great day. Fly safe. Bye.